my 6. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the most awesomest homesteading channel on the planet that typically has nothing whatsoever to do with homesteading off the grid. Bringing this video to you today here from a different spot, different angle out in front of our big front field, and the hair is down today instead of up in a ponytail in honor of his greatness, Ozzy Osbourne. I was a huge Ozzy fan. I was fortunate enough to see Ozzy in concert way back in 1996 on his Retirement Sucks tour. Rest in peace, Hulk Hogan, Malcolm Jamal Warner. They say things come in three. Those were three big figures growing up in the 80s, and hate to see them go, but that's what happens. Our time here is limited. That's why we've got to make the best of it. And if you're living in mommy's basement not doing anything, you're making nothing of your time. You are squandering the only opportunity we get at life. This isn't a video game. There's not three chances. It's one and done. And that's kind of what I'm here to talk to you about today. The title is something to the effect of "This is why you suck," etc. I saw something on social media this morning that really stuck out to me, and I wanted to share it with you today. You'll have to excuse some of the background noise. You might hear cars go by. I usually make these videos way up in the woods or up at the campground, nowhere close to the road, but we're only a couple of 100 yards away here, back behind that privacy screen my family and I planted 9 years ago that now you can't see them, but you can still hear traffic a little bit. So we know that one of the biggest concerns in modern American society is the issues that are going on with what historically we would refer to as young men. I don't refer to these individuals as young men because men they are not. I refer to them as adult boys. We have a pandemic of adult boys in America who are not contributing to society. They are not taking care of themselves. They are continuing to be taken care of by their parents. And this is what I'm going to discuss today for several reasons. So I came across something on Facebook today, and I'm going to read it to you. I'm going to read it to you in its entirety, and then I'm going to break it down line by line to kind of dissect it. And feel free to give me your views, your opinions in the comment section, and tell me I'm an a-hole, and I'm a judgmental a-hole if you want, if that's your view. So I want to give full credit to where I got this. This is not my original content. I got this from a Facebook page owned and operated by a guy named Dan Martell. That's Martell. Some of you might follow Dan. He might pop up on your account sometimes. He's kind of a motivational speaker. He's big into entrepreneurialism and small business ownership and success, how to get to the top. And that's why he comes up on my screen. That's what I'm into. So it was a reel. He speaks into his phone and he says this. He says, "Hey, ChatGPT, how would you destroy young men in the 21st century?" Now, you remember, of course, I know 76% of you on this page, or on this is YouTube, on this YouTube channel, and even my Facebook pages, are my age or older. So you remember Paul Harvey and the rest of the story. You might remember one particular episode called "If I Were the Devil." That was not originally by Mr. Harvey, and actually Paul Harvey's son, Paul Harvey Jr., wrote most of his content, but Paul Harvey Sr. delivered it. But that was the story of, if I were the devil, I would do this, I would do that, I would do all these things. And basically, they were things that were already going on. This is very similar to that. So Dan Martell speaks into his phone. He says, "Hey, ChatGPT, how would you destroy young men in the 21st century?" And this is what, in her very lovely English accent, English is in from England, not American English, said. She says, "I'd whisper that mediocrity is safe and ambition overrated. Then I'd reward pleasure over purpose, make them crave quick highs, entertainment, comfort food, cheap distractions, all while their potential rots. I'd tempt them to seek validation over vision, make them addicted to likes, approval, afraid to stand alone for what they believe. And I'd tell them never take risks, play it safe, stay in their little bubble, never daring to chase anything meaningful. I'd convince them it's fine to only act when they feel like it. Make discipline feel unnatural, like it's too much to ask. Let them rely on their parents for everything, so they never truly grow up. Then I'd sever their faith, tell them belief is weakness, convince them nothing really matters except chasing that next thrill. That's how I do it. Keep them soft. Keep them mine. That's it. Does that not describe the situation that we're in right now? I Googled it. Here's the actual numbers. I Googled how many adult males, and of course I don't use the term men with these individuals, how many adult males between 18 and 30 are still living at home with their parents? The result that came up on Google, and you can Google this as soon as you watch this video or hit pause and Google it now to see that I'm just spitting the facts, Jack. A stunning 58% of American adult males, adult boys, are still living at home with their parents. 58%. That number is higher than it's ever been in our nation's history. It's been holding strong at that number for years, and it's showing no sign of decreasing. I then Googled what percentage of the same age group and demographic aren't even working, don't work. That number is 20%. So if you do the math inversely, that would show that 1/3, 1 out of every 3 of these adult males who are still living at home with their parents don't even work. They don't even work. Now, I'm going to go through this poem, we'll call it, line by line again and give you some of the personal thoughts I had. And I want to see if you agree, disagree, or indifferent, okay? Now, this is a serious matter. This is why this is something I concern myself with. I'm a father. I have a 14-year-old son. I am a youth sports coach. I've coached for a quarter of a century off and on, but full-time 9 months out of the year for the last 8 years. I'm worldly. I've been in over 20 countries. I've spent nearly 10 years of the last 20 actually living overseas in other countries. I have seen things elsewhere that we don't want here that is quickly coming down the pike. I'm seeing the downfall of America in our future largely because of this situation we have with young adult males in our country. This is the next generation, and it ain't looking too good. And I'll get into that more, but let's go line by line. First line, I'd whisper that mediocrity is safe and ambition is overrated. Okay, participation trophies. Mediocrity is safe. Hey, just be average. Okay, ambition is overrated. Toxic masculinity. That's something that in the last half a dozen years has become a big thing. If you were ambitious, for example, like my son, he doesn't participate in the sports he plays. He goes out to dominate. And one of the ways he does that is by getting himself ready in the off season. He's actually working out twice a day. He has been all summer, and now football started, and he's still working out twice a day. A lot of folks would refer to that as toxic masculinity. Oh, ambition is overrated. He should thrive to be average like everyone else. No, he shouldn't. And only in recent times has that even been a consideration. All right. Get this one. I'd reward pleasure over purpose. Make them crave quick highs. Look at vaping. Look at and listen. I'm pro marijuana because I've been through the ringer as a disabled combat veteran, so they call me. I don't view myself as disabled, so I therefore do not live as if I am. But I've been through the litany of the synthetic pharmaceuticals that Big Pharma has manufactured. At one point, I was on 8 of them prescribed to me by the VA and the Army Hospital. I couldn't tell you what day of the week it was or what my middle name was. it's 93 degrees with a heat index of 98 out here, and this shirt doesn't breathe. So forgive me for wiping the sweat off my face. And then let's take a look at alcohol. And I like my beer, but alcohol, we know, is a cancer-causing agent. There's no positive effects to it other than it tastes good. 3 or 4 makes you feel wonderful, but you keep going after that, you're going to lose any productivity of your next day. Okay? So, but with all this said, it's about the personal responsibility of being able to know, okay, for example, the Lord's lettuce, as I've often referred to it on this channel. I take it medicinally. I don't have a prescription for it because I don't need it in my state. I have insomnia associated with my PTSD. I enjoy a bowl of the Lord's lettuce before bedtime, and I sleep like a baby. I get 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep. If I've had a couple of cold ones after a hard day's work, after coaching the boys at practice or doing whatever, it keeps me from overindulging and then going overboard, and then the next day being completely worthless as far as productivity goes. But if it's all you sit around and do, that ain't good. Okay, but again, it's not the Lord's lettuce fault. It's the lack of responsibility of the user who decides that, hey, I just want that cheap high all day. Take a look at vaping. We will walk across the campus at the University of Virginia, downtown there in Charlottesville. These college kids are wearing these little vape pipes around their neck like a necklace. My brother-in-law, Erwin, by the way, got me this wonderful necklace. It's a real pearl. When we're in the Philippines here just a couple of weeks ago. But you'll be walking around, you see these kids coming out of their classes as soon as they get out. Or just before they go in, it's that cheap high, that thrill of that cheap high, entertainment, okay? And what I'm going to talk about here is video games, because my son told me something earlier today that I just didn't believe, so I Googled it. But it's that... you know what I'm talking about. Think about these young males, starts in their preteen years all the way through their teens, and I see it every fall when we start coaching football season. You can tell which kids were outside playing all summer because they're already accustomed to the heat, the humidity, they're in shape, they've got suntans. And then you can tell which ones have been sitting in an air-conditioned room playing video games 12 hours a day all summer long. They're so pale, they look like a ghost. They start sweating profusely the minute they step out of the car, and they can't make it through 15 minutes of practice. Do you want to know how much time these individuals are spending on these video games? Most of them these desensitizing, shoot 'em up, bash 'em up games like Call of Duty. Well, I Googled this. Straight from Google. This is something my son told me, and I didn't believe it. I Googled it myself. It's true. Call of Duty players have collectively logged over 25 billion hours of gameplay. This is equivalent to 2.85 million years, surpassing the entire timeline of human existence. So this demographic of young American males, men they are not, have spent more time playing one video game alone, Call of Duty, than human beings have spent on planet Earth. Could you imagine what they could have done with themselves had they spent that time getting an education, having a job, building their own business? You see what I'm getting at, folks? Now let's go to the next line. I'd tempt them to seek validation over vision. Make them addicted to likes, approval, afraid to stand alone for what they believe. Now, we're getting into something very personal here to me. It's social media. Making sure that, they put their current status on there, and their feeling of worth is dependent upon how many thumbs up they get from that or how many likes. And now you're saying, oh, Crazy Lake, we got you there. That's what you do. No, that's not what I do. I'm part of the 3% of people that creates content for social media, such as this video, and like the reels and on Facebook, on our all of our pages over there, and the videos and just the text posts, the stories. 3% of us spend about I can speak for myself, and I've been doing this for 15 years. I've got it whittled down to where I spend about 2 hours a day creating content. That includes 68 Facebook posts a day and a couple videos a week here on YouTube. Used to be more, but I'm working Facebook harder now than I am YouTube because Facebook's paying more. And even a stray dog knows to go where he's fed, right? So 2 hours a day, and then I'm done. Okay, 97% of everybody else will spend unlimited amount of hours daily just scrolling through that. Hey, I benefit from it because it's made me a not so small fortune, and it continues to make me an even bigger one. And don't even get into that, well, don't you feel guilty about that? Listen, that's something I deal with all the time. First of all, the answer is no. And I'm going to share a quick story with you here. It was about a month ago now. I was in downtown Charlottesville in the downtown mall, and I ran into an older gentleman that I've known for many years. I do business with him. I don't want to say what business he does because I don't want to out the guy in his arrogant, pompous ass of an attitude. But I had a couple of bad years back in 2017, 2018. We lost all of our Facebook pages. We had to start this channel, as a matter of fact, to get back up and running on social media before we could get our Facebook pages back and start new ones that became profitable. And I spent some time as a mailman in Charlottesville, 6 months, working at times 17 days straight without a day off, 12-hour days. I did what I had to do, though, to take care of my family. I don't come from money, and as long as there's a job out there that can be done that provides a paycheck, I'm staying away from the welfare office. So I was making 2 or 3 videos out here in the fields, getting up at 5 in the morning, making 2 or 3 videos, giving them to Dearly, my beautiful bride, aka Giggly Girl, to upload and publish while I was chucking mail and delivering packages 12 hours a day in Charlottesville. This time of year, as a matter of fact. Okay, super hot. And first part of the year was winter, was super cold. So I ended up actually delivering this guy's packages to his house on Sundays for Amazon. We had the U.S. Postal Service had the Amazon contract back then. So I'd see him and he'd say, oh my gosh, you're working so hard. Because he had known me before this. Oh man, just hang in there, things will turn around. So I ran into him a month ago and he says, so how things are going now? I says, things are going great. Things have really turned around. You know, I haven't been delivering packages, working 17 days straight without a break. In several years now because social media has been very profitable for us. We've been very blessed. He goes, so you did make it back into being an influencer. I don't like that term. Hopefully I'm not influencing anybody because I'm nuts, so they say. I create content. I'm a social media content creator. He goes, so you're to blame. So I'm to blame for what? And this guy's a boomer. He says, for the whole younger generation pissing away 12 hours a day just scrolling. Don't you feel guilty about that? No, I don't even have to think about that. I do what I do for the same reason you, Mr. and Mrs. or Mr. and Miss working person, do what you do. To provide the best lifestyle for my family that I can provide. And I'm doing a pretty daggone good job of that. Okay, right now, while I'm dumb enough to sit out here in this heat and humidity to make this video, my son is in his bedroom, not playing video games, but playing on his somewhat new, super nice electric guitar, getting better at a skill he's already pretty good at. Because it's, instead of pissing away X amount of hours a day playing video games, he's learned to play a musical instrument. And he likes to read books. That's something we got him into when he was young. We don't do that stuff here. While I'm doing what I'm doing, and while he's doing that, my beautiful bride, aka Giggly Girl, Dearly, is at the Grand Canyon for her second time in 4 years. Her and 4 or 5 of her lady friends take a girls trip about every 6 months. Last summer they went to San Antonio, Texas. Right now, they're in Las Vegas. They've been to the Grand Canyon. Yesterday they went to Hoover Dam. Today they were at Red Rock. They're going to go play in the casinos, and she'll be home in a few days. All expense trip paid for by me due to the bounties of my efforts, the fruits of my labor. And 4 days ago, all 3 of us just returned from a 2 weeks trip to the Philippines. We are living the fantasy as a result of my efforts in being a social media content creator. So do I feel guilty because there are people out there who don't have the discipline to not scroll for 6 hours a day or however long? Do I feel guilty because people have no direction, no drive, no ambition, and no sense of purpose and can't put their phone down, or better yet, say, hey, I'm going to become one of these guys and girls that create content. So instead of scrolling 4 hours a day, I'll create content for 4 hours a day. And instead of wasting my time and being unproductive, I'll start making more money than you could ever imagine. Trust me. One of these days, I'm going to give you numbers, but not today, because I'm still racking them up. All right. So yeah, that answers that question. Oh, man, I'm just so whatever. Do I feel guilty for being successful? Absolutely not. And that shows you how bad it's become in our society, to where you're to be guilt shamed for being successful. Because, as it says in the beginning line of this poem, I'd whisper that mediocrity is safe. Ambition, overrated. Poppycock. Next line. Oh, I'd tell them to never take risks. Play it safe. Stay in their little bubble. Never daring to chase anything meaningful. Hey, just sit on the sidelines. Strive to be a bench warmer. You might get hurt if you go out there on that field. It's just not worth it. Don't take a chance. You might fail. Yeah, and guess what? You might succeed. You might find out who you are. Mark Twain said, the two most important days in your life are, number one, the day you're born, and number two, the day you find out why. You might just go out there and figure out your purpose if you take that chance, if you take that risk. Yeah, you probably will fail, but you don't drown because you fall in water. You drown because you stay there. Before Thomas Edison could figure out how to make a light bulb work, he had to figure out 10,000 ways how to not make a light bulb work. Next line. I'd convince them it's fine to only act when they feel like it. Make discipline feel unnatural, like it's too much to ask for. Let them rely on their parents for everything so they never truly grow up. Folks, I know that ADHD is a real thing. I wouldn't be surprised if I don't have it, okay? But I'm a Gen Xer, and these things were just coming to light. Knowledge of a lot of this stuff was just coming to light in the late 90s by the time I was already getting out of college. So folks from my generation who grew up that potentially had it, well, our fathers tried to beat it out of us. Now, I certainly do not condone that behavior. Not at all, okay? If you have to resort to physical violence against a child, you are a very small-minded individual, okay? But with that said, I will say this about the current generation. Yes, it's real. I know it's real. No, I'm not a doctor, etc., etc. I know people that have it. I know adults my age who have it, who have harnessed it and who have gotten it in check and who actually use it as a superpower. They know they've got this supersonic level of energy, so they find productive things to do and they channel that energy, and man, do they do those productive things well. I know children that have it. I coach children that have it, whose parents want the best for that child, so they do not allow that child to turn it into a crutch. Some of them go the medication route. Some of them go the cognitive behavioral therapy route. Some of them go both routes. But they stay on top of it. They keep it in check. They stay in communication with me and the other coaches and their teachers, I'm sure. We keep an eye on things, and some of these kids are the most successful athletes and students, well-behaved, most disciplined and respectful children I know. Then there are those who allow this ism to be a lifelong crutch and excuse to shirk responsibility and discipline for eternity, for all times to come. Give you an example. I would never mention names, and I never will. I had a problem kid on the team last year, and this was the deal. And it finally got to the point to where I had to speak to his mother. I said, I need to talk to you about your son because some things happened during the game that are not acceptable and we're not happy with. You know what she says? She goes, oh, okay, but wait. before you say anything, you got to understand that he has ADHD and we forgot to give him his medicine today. Okay, so what happened? I literally did what I just did, because in that moment, I saw that this woman has allowed that label or that condition, which is real. I am not denying it. It is real. But she has allowed that to be that kid's crutch from day one, and it will be that kid's crutch until the end of that kid's time. She is not doing that kid any favors. And what I would say to parents like that, start writing down your excuses in a notebook, and you better keep it, because the day's going to come when you're going to have to read those excuses to a judge. All right. Here's a big one. Then I'd sever their faith. I'd tell them belief is weakness, convince them nothing really matters except chasing the next thrill. Making it to the next level of that shoot 'em up video game, okay? We hear talk often about the fear of a third world America. Usually when you hear that talk, it's coming from the right or the alt-right, to be more specific, and it's a fear of immigrants, okay? My wife's an immigrant. She's from the Philippines. She came here legally. Last year, she became a U.S. citizen. We followed the rules. There is a clear path to citizenship, and it's relatively simple to take because we took it. My son was actually born in the Philippines, and we didn't get to the U.S. until he was 5 years old, only 3 months before he went to kindergarten. Like I said earlier, we just went to the Philippines for 2 weeks. We came back easily. We went through customs. We went through immigration. There were people actually telling us we shouldn't go to the Philippines because Donald Trump wasn't going to let my wife back in because she's a naturalized U.S. citizen and that doesn't count anymore, blah, 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 blah. My wife has broken the rules. My wife has not broken any rules. She has committed no crimes. We followed the rules. We had no fears. There was never a question. She got back into the country and she's visiting the Grand Canyon right now for the second time in 4 years. The fear, brothers and sisters, of a third world country, and this coming from a man who spent 10 of the last 20 years in third world countries, is apathy. When people stop caring. And we're seeing it. We're seeing it with Gen Z in mass. People in third world countries, what keeps them third world is the fact that they just don't care. You want to talk about, corrupt politics. Well, of course, they're corrupt everywhere. They're corrupt here. But I have been in the barangays, which is a neighborhood, on election day in the Philippines, when the crooked politician comes through with buses and hands out the money for the people to get on the bus and go vote for them. They do. They go down and they vote for them. And then they've got their money for their alcohol and their cigarettes, a little bit of rice and a few vegetables that night. You say, oh, well, if you were poor, you would do it too. No. It's called principles. It's called character, and it can't be compromised by money. You cannot sell your soul when it comes from a hard-earned place. And those folks, I would talk to them. I'd say, you know this guy's corrupt. You claim you're poor because your government's corrupt, that you're going to take 500 pesos, which is $8, to go vote for the guy again? They're like, we don't care. And they literally do not care. 2 years ago, me, my wife, and our son walked into a Pizza Hut on West Main Street in Charlottesville. There was a table that had 3 customers sitting there eating pizza. It was noon. There was a line at the door. Maybe 3 parties waiting to get seated. There were 4 or 5 employees, all of them sitting at the counter scrolling on their phones. Gen Z, all Gen Z. A mix of demographics past that point, but all of them certainly under 30. So nobody was being sat. So I walked over to somebody, one of the employees at the counter, and I said, hey, you've got some folks over here who want to come in and eat some pizza, and we're part of it. Can we get a table? Do we seat ourselves? Did you seat us or what? This woman, 25-ish, looks up from her phone. She looks over, sees the people. She goes, somebody will be with you shortly. Goes down on her phone, starts texting away. We stood there for a couple more minutes, and I looked at my wife and my son. I said, let's get out of here and go somewhere else. We walked out the door, and I said to my wife, this business will be out of business within 6 months. And this Pizza Hut was within walking distance of the campus. It was the last place open at night after all the bars shut down, where young people could go get more beer and food. Less than 6 months later, that place was out of business. Apathy. those people in there didn't care enough to do their job. That's the threat we face as a third world country, because it's not just that little Pizza Hut. It's not just the service sector. It is everywhere. The final line. That's how I do it. Keep them soft. Keep them mine. And I made a note here, my thoughts on that. Spoken like a true mother who is over-mothering her sons, fighting like a tiger to keep their fathers from stepping in to show them how to get from point A to point B, or rather, from point boy to point man, hence, allowing them to be underfathered. Folks, this is a serious condition. This is a condition our nation faces that threatens our nation's future. I am so happy that women have made so many gains over the last generation. I'm proud of them, and I hope they continue to make those gains. I'm here to tell you, folks, if we don't have that same generation also factoring into that generation a solid, strong group of young men as well, we're doomed. It takes both. It takes all of us. But when 50% or 49% of our entire population is apathetic, irresponsible, no work ethic, still dependent upon aging parents. Now, Gen X, we're not as old as the boomers yet, but with each passing day, we get a day older. You got to cut the apron strings, folks. You got to cut the apron strings. You'd be amazed to find out what a lot of these folks, a lot of these young adult males could do if they had to. Folks, we've reached a point where you probably ought to haul them down to the military recruitment center and sign them up, because if they are not men by 24, by 25, without a huge insertion of some sort of manhood creating mechanism such as the military, they never will be. I hope to God you got something out of this, and I'll see you for more next time here at the greatest homesteading channel on planet Earth that has nothing whatsoever to do with homesteading. Homesteading off the grid.